Hi there and welcome to your gardening week. It can be really frustrating at times, this gardening lark. Take now for example. We're right at what we hope is the end of winter. Spring is just knocking on the door, and what happens? We get another cold blast of late winter weather, and it looks like it's going to be quite serious, but more of that later. Some of the warm weather we've had over the last few days has really brought some of the growth on my roses on very early indeed. I've got about an inch of growth on some of the climbers in the sheltered parts of the garden, but even the rose bushes in the cooler parts are staying well buttoned up. They haven't started into growth yet. So what has that weather got in store for us over the next 7 days? Well, it looks like we're all going to be in a cold easterly airflow. And not only is that wind cold, but it's also very drying because it's coming from deep in the continent, and that could cause scorching on lots of evergreen plants. The other problem is that if we get much in the way of snow and it hangs around and weights down all our evergreens, particularly things like palm trees, it can cause the leaves and the foliage to sag. So if you do get some heavy snow, take care to go out and brush it off that foliage. The other thing to do is to keep off your lawn during cold, frosty weather, otherwise you might end up with footprints well on into the spring. So what can you be getting on with when the weather threatens to be wintry again? Well, turn your attention indoors. I'm going to fill some pots with compost and then sow some basil seeds on the surface of that compost, just lightly covering them with a bit of extra compost just to cover the seeds. Keep them well watered on a kitchen windowsill. Probably about 6 weeks' time, I'll have some fresh summer tasting basil to look forward to. Sticking with the culinary theme, I'm also going to plant my garlic. Now, a lot of people plant their garlic in the autumn, and they do that even outside, but I like to be really careful about it and wait until just when spring is on its way. Plant it indoors, bring it on well, and then plant it out in, say, a month's time, when the warmer weather will bring it on really quickly. Start by breaking down the garlic bulbs into individual garlic cloves ready for planting. As you're doing this, take care not to damage any of the little green growths that are coming from the top of each clove. With that done, fill a divided seed tray with well-sieved compost. Make sure that you fill level and then tap to settle the compost in place. Then put an individual garlic clove into each of the sections, fill up with a little bit more compost, water, and put on a cool, bright windowsill to start into growth. You'll be amazed how much growth is made indoors over the coming few weeks, so make sure you've got them well underway, ready to plant out in March. And the one bit of pruning I will allow myself to do this week is to cut back my coloured stemmed cornus and willows, as long as it's not too intensely frosty. These hardy plants can be cut back hard at this time of year, just before they start into growth. And as I said a few weeks ago, you could take some hardwood cuttings of the pieces that you cut off, bury those in the ground and make more of your plants that way. But the key thing is to use a sharp pair of secateurs or a pair of loppers to cut hard back down to ground level, perhaps just to within 4 or 5 inches of the ground really, very close, so that you encourage all the new growth to come from low down on the plant to get the best coloured stems for next year. So there's a roundup of what the weather's got in store for us and some of the things you can be getting on with when it's cold outside. And in the meantime, take a look at more jobs to do in your garden on my gardening website, davidhurrian.com. Happy gardening!